In the fourth episode of Long Way Home, Ewan McGregor and Charley Boorman continue their epic motorcycle adventure through the breathtaking landscapes of Norway. This episode, aptly titled Fjord Focus, takes viewers on an immersive journey through some of the most spectacular scenery in Scandinavia, as the two best friends navigate winding roads, towering mountains, and deep blue fjords on their trusty but temperamental vintage motorcycles. The episode begins with Ewan and Charley waking up to a crisp Norwegian morning, the sun glistening over the mountains in the distance. After a hearty breakfast at their accommodation, they pack up their gear and prepare for another day on the road. Their plan is to head toward Fjord, a small village nestled in the heart of Norway's fjord country. However, they quickly learn that their intended route along the Tindevegen mountain road is closed, likely due to weather conditions or seasonal closures common in this region. To Fjord, Ewan asks a local, who responds, "The Tindevegen. That's closed. You'll have to stay here." This unexpected obstacle forces them to reconsider their route, highlighting one of the constant challenges of motorcycle travel in the remote Nordic countryside. The friends discuss their options over coffee, consulting maps, and seeking advice from locals about alternative routes. This setback, while initially disappointing, leads them to discover an even more scenic path through the fjords, exemplifying the spirit of adventure that defines their journey. As they often remark throughout their Long Way series, some of the best experiences come from the unplanned detours and surprises along the way. Setting off on their diverted route, Ewan and Charley are immediately rewarded with stunning vistas of Norway's famous fjords. The cameras capture the awe on their faces as they ride alongside deep blue waters that stretch for miles, surrounded by towering cliffs and snow-capped mountains. "This is absolutely spectacular," Ewan exclaims through his helmet intercom, his voice filled with genuine wonder. Charley agrees, noting that despite their extensive travels around the world, Norway's natural beauty stands in a league of its own. Mid-morning brings them to their first significant stop, an ancient Stave church dating back to the Viking era. These wooden churches, with their distinctive architecture featuring multiple tiers of sloping roofs and intricate dragon head carvings, represent some of Norway's most important cultural heritage. A local guide explains the historical significance of these structures, many of which have stood for nearly 1,000 years despite being built entirely of wood. Ewan, who has always shown a deep appreciation for history and craftsmanship in their previous journeys, is particularly moved by the church's weathered timbers and the stories embedded within them. As they continue their journey, the challenges of riding their vintage motorcycles become increasingly apparent. Unlike their previous adventures where they used modern, reliable BMW bikes, this journey on older machines adds an additional layer of complexity. About halfway through the day, Charley's bike begins making concerning sounds. They pull over to investigate, and with Ewan holding a flashlight, Charley gets to work diagnosing the issue. After some tinkering and a few choice words, Charley determines that a loose connection is causing the problem. "Just smack it," he says with a laugh, demonstrating the less-than-technical approach sometimes required with older machines. Remarkably, the improvised repair works, and they're back on the road within minutes. The afternoon brings them to one of Norway's most impressive natural landmarks, ancient rock formations that date back millions of years. These massive stones, shaped by glaciers and weathered by time, stand like silent sentinels overlooking the fjords. Ewan and Charley park their bikes and hike to a viewpoint that offers a panoramic vista of these geological wonders. The camera pans across the landscape, capturing the immensity of the scene and the relative smallness of the two travelers within it. These moments of quiet contemplation provide a thoughtful counterpoint to the adrenaline of the road, allowing viewers to appreciate not just the journey, but also the destinations. Hunger eventually drives them to seek out a local eatery, where they're introduced to traditional Norwegian cuisine. The restaurant owner, recognizing the famous visitors, welcomes them warmly and insists they try the local specialties. Ewan and Charley dive into plates of fresh-caught fish, hearty stews, and homemade bread, washing it all down with locally brewed beer. These interactions with locals have always been a highlight of their travel series, offering viewers a glimpse into the cultures and customs of the places they visit. Over lunch, they reflect on their journey so far. "We've been doing these trips for 22 years, Charley mentions, referring to their long history of motorcycle adventures together, which began with Long Way Round in 2004. 22 years, Ewan repeats, seemingly amazed at how quickly the time has passed. This nostalgic moment underscores the deep friendship that has been the emotional core of all their Long Way adventures. Despite their busy careers and different lives, these journeys have provided them with opportunities to reconnect and strengthen their bond. After lunch, they head toward a nearby Fjord where they've arranged to take a boat tour. As they approach the dock, Charley jokes about his qualifications, saying, "Passenger boats. I'm certificated," suggesting he could take the helm if needed. The boat captain, a weathered Norwegian with decades of experience navigating these waters, takes them through narrow passages between towering cliffs, where waterfalls cascade directly into the fjord. The scale is impossible to capture even with their professional camera crew, but the expressions on Ewan and Charley's faces convey the majesty of the scene better than any wide-angle shot could. During the boat tour, they learn about the geological history of the fjords, formed over millions of years by massive glaciers carving their way through the mountains. The captain explains how these waterways have shaped Norwegian culture and history, serving as vital transportation routes for centuries. He points out ancient farms perched on seemingly inaccessible ledges, explaining how generations of families have lived in these remote locations, accessing the outside world primarily by boat. As the afternoon progresses, the weather begins to change, a common occurrence in Norwegian fjord country. Dark clouds roll in, and a light rain begins to fall. Rather than dampening their spirits, Ewan and Charley embrace the changing conditions, donning their rain gear and continuing their journey. The misty atmosphere adds a mystical quality to the landscape, with clouds wrapping around mountain peaks and raindrops creating ripples across the still waters of the fjords. Their day concludes at a traditional Norwegian cabin overlooking one of the fjords. These cabins, known as hytte in Norwegian, represent an important part of Norwegian culture, where people retreat to reconnect with nature. As darkness falls, they sit by a roaring fire, recounting the day's adventures and planning the next leg of their journey. The simple "okay," uttered by one of them as they settle in for the night, speaks to the contentment that comes from a day well spent in magnificent surroundings. The episode ends with a preview of their upcoming route, which will take them further into Norway before they eventually make their way towards Sweden. As the credits roll, viewers are left with stunning drone footage of their motorcycles, tiny specks on winding roads that cut through some of Europe's most dramatic landscapes. Throughout this episode, Fjord Focus lives up to its name, showcasing the natural wonders of Norway's fjord country while continuing to explore the enduring friendship between Ewan and Charley. Their genuine reactions to the landscapes, their good-natured handling of mechanical issues, and their warm interactions with locals all contribute to the authentic feel that has made the Long Way series so beloved by fans. What makes this journey different from their previous adventures is the focus on Europe, a continent rich with history and culture, but often overlooked in favor of more exotic destinations. By traveling through 17 European countries on their way from Scotland to England, Ewan and Charley are demonstrating that epic adventures don't necessarily require journeys to the far corners of the earth. Sometimes, the most remarkable experiences can be found closer to home, particularly when viewed from the seat of a motorcycle. The vintage bikes add another layer to this journey, representing both a challenge and a connection to motorcycling's heritage. Unlike the cutting-edge machines of their previous trips, these older bikes require more maintenance and occasional roadside repairs, adding unpredictability to their journey. Yet, there's a romance to these classic motorcycles that resonates with the nostalgic undertones of this series, as two friends in their 50s reflect on 2 decades of shared adventures. As they navigate Norway's spectacular landscapes, Ewan and Charley continue to embody the spirit of adventure that has defined their friendship and captivated viewers around the world. Their journey reminds us that the value of travel lies not just in the destinations we reach, but in the experiences we gather, the challenges we overcome, and the connections we make along the way. And for these two friends, the long way home through Europe is proving to be just as rewarding as their previous journeys across continents.